Hello, I'm Annika Hurwit. I'm a three principles single paradigm teacher. For 25 years now, I've been teaching individuals and couples and teens and leaders about the principles and how to have a happy life and how to be successful. And I'm here to talk with you today about how self-criticism gets in the way of a happy life. And the reason I feel inspired to do this is because it's come up so much recently with clients I've been working with, and I've seen the severe damage that it does. These self-critical habits tend to get developed young, and like so many of our thought habits, they run unconsciously once we set them up. We don't remember ever telling ourselves it's a good idea to criticize ourselves, and I'm sure if somebody asked you if you thought it was a good idea, you would say no. But I'm going to talk about three people I've worked with recently and their journey of discovering just how self-critical they have been in the past and how it has actually led to severe and debilitating anxiety and depression, which looked to them like it was coming from outside of them. So just a quick review. So what I want to say about self-criticism, I was working with someone, very high-functioning woman, a leader in her field, someone who stopped some major ecological damage going on in her state single-handedly and received a global award. It's a very powerful woman. But when she came to me, she was very anxious, extremely anxious and depressed. And so we did a 4-day intensive, which is just an intensified way of learning the principles that's very impactful. And in the process of my teaching this person the principles and the single paradigm, and the single paradigm again is the realization that your feelings are your GPS system showing you. So as I went along teaching this client the three principles and the single paradigm, she became more and more aware of thoughts and feelings that were bringing her outside in, and began to find her way, which is innate and natural for all of us to realign simply through realizing she's feeling her thoughts, which would settle her down. But the more we went along, the more obvious it was that she had a ferocious self-critical habit. And the way I picked up on that with her was that no matter how many times I said it's built into the system, that you will get pulled into this illusion of something that's not thought creating your feeling. And it happens to me several times a day. When it would happen to her, I would see her spirits just plummet. And I was very puzzled by how deeply upsetting it was to her until I realized how self-critical she was. And when I brought that up, there was a big nod of recognition. And as we went along, it became obvious that actually the primary source of her anxiety and depression was her self-criticism. No matter which way she turned, if she wasn't doing it perfectly in her eyes, she would think things that were hard on herself. How can you be so stupid? How can you make that mistake again? But this was a habit she had developed so long ago. She didn't know she was doing it. She didn't hear herself doing it. It just looked like life. When you make mistakes, you feel bad. That's how it looked. Whereas in fact, the research shows the most creative and successful people are the ones with the highest tolerance for mistakes, because it means they're on a constant learning curve. And it's hard to be on a learning curve when you're beating yourself up. Who wants to be learning? Who wants to be living when you're constantly beating yourself up? But thought is so tricky and so fast and so powerful that it really looked to her like life was beating her up until she saw this self-critical habit. Now I'm going to say a little bit about what I've been observing with my clients with these ferocious self-critical habits that keep kind of rearing their ugly heads. I encourage you, once you discover this for yourself, should that be the case, to put it on what we call both sides of the diagram. Wherever it looks like your feelings are coming from would be on the right side, like let's say losing a job, and then realizing what you're really feeling is you're thinking in the moment about losing the job, because that's a fact. Can't feel the job. And that in itself may be enough, not only to bring you back to the present, but to begin to unwind the self-critical habit. But if it's not, some of my clients have found that their wisdom and common sense in the moment has brought them away to start to defeat the habit, just like they found a way to create it. Now, be very careful here, because as those of you who've been learning about the principles know, there are no techniques. And the reason for that, of course, is that we have 1 to 200 thoughts a day, and everybody's thought world is unique. So no technique applies to everyone. Most techniques only apply to a small amount of people for a short amount of time, because we're always changing and evolving. But when your wisdom brings you something that you might think of as being a bit technique-y, it's something arising in the moment from your wisdom to help you. So if you have a ferocious self-critical habit, see what occurs to you, because now that you've listened to this video, you're much more likely to notice it. And that awareness is consciousness, and consciousness in itself begins to clean it up. But if you're finding that it's going too slowly, or that you're frustrated, some of my clients have told me that they have started to tell their mind, I'm sorry I trained you to beat yourself up. We're making a fresh start here. We're not doing that anymore. Another client told me that she just says, stop. When she hears that another client, I thought this was so beautiful, sees herself giving herself a flower or even a bouquet when she realizes that she's made a mistake and she started to criticize herself. And she told me that over a period of months, it not only stopped the habit, which was causing anxiety and depression for her, but now she's begun to have a positive relationship with making mistakes, which the longer I go along in life, both helping people with anxiety and depression and coaching leaders, the more convinced I am that it's the key to success, to have a good relationship with mistakes, to be constantly learning from them to the point where you embrace them, so that life is about growth and change. So that's my talk for today on the negative effects of self-criticism and what to do about it, so that you can move forward on your path to happiness and success.